You brought up an awesome indie title, Katana Zero. You brought up There Is No Light. I mean, there's a pretty small indie game that came out recently that I thought had some really great boss battles. It's called Hollow Knight Silksong.
Yeah. Oh yeah, small.
You may have heard of it.
Yeah.
Say the Hollow Knight.
Yeah, Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight.
And then
Song of Silk.
Silksong.
Silksong.
Controversial opinion. I believe every boss fight in this game is meticulously crafted and perfect.
How difficult was it for you to just choose one or two to talk about? First of all?
It was pretty difficult. I do not like Silksong's gauntlets. I think the gauntlets are kind of bullshit. I don't really consider those bosses though. But
I mean, they're massive skill checks though, for sure.
But my favorite, and it's not really due to difficulty, is the Cogwork Dancers.
Oh, good man.
And
good man.
I don't know. Did you guys play up to the Cogwork Dancers at all?
No.
All right. Well, you get into the Citadel, which is like a big spoiler alert. The whole game is focused on you getting to the Citadel, and then like there's a lot of things to do in the Citadel. One of the bosses was designed as the protector of the highest part of the Citadel, but it's not one of the last bosses you fight in that area. It just so happens locationally within the Citadel, that's what their job was. And they're these automaton like robots. So the whole premise of the Cogwork Dancers is that they are automatons that are wound up like a music box, like on the wall. And then you show up and they wind up and they move at the same time in different locations, all synced up to the music.
Oh, yeah,
that's like a very music box jangly tune. That's really nice. And then you fight them, you get to phase 2, they wind themselves back up in their little chambers, they come back out, they're faster. Beat one of them again, now you've knocked them off sync. So they go back up, one of the gears doesn't turn all the way, this one continues to turn. Now they pop back out and they're not in sync anymore. And it's just, it ends up being really fast and it's just like this delicate dance that you're doing, just jumping, like attacking, finding all these but it's not like oppressive the way that they're attacking you. Like it's very it's not that difficult, but it's hard to get your timing right. It's a different sort of boss.
It just feels so good.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the level of thought that went into the bosses, like that idea of the cog is broken. That is why they're out of sync. Like the logic.
It's just one thing that you see.
Design
it's
that goes into the boss's design is that's really nice. That's that level of detail is sick.
And then you finally beat phase 3, and one of them falls because you're only attacking one at a time. One of them falls, and you're like, oh, all right. You see one go right back into the thing. You're like, oh, great. There's a phase 4, and there is a phase 4. One of the automatons comes out very slow, almost like limping. And then they go up. One of their attacks is when they're together is they go into the middle and they dance real quick, and it's like an AoE attack. So with the other one dead, he goes to the middle, completely fails the dance and just falls to the ground. And it's just like this, you have now destroyed them, and this final phase is just you just kind of.
Oh, that's kind of a cool idea.
You clean
instead
up
of getting stronger with the phases, it got destroyed.
Well, it's weird because phase 1 is that, phase 2 they're faster, phase 3 is they are no longer in sync.
Yep.
So it makes things more difficult to track. And then phase 4, they can't be in sync because one is dead, and it's just entirely broken because cogs have to work together.
I like that because you've turned the tide of the battle. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, I'm hammering this dude now. That's kind of cool.
And it's that whole thing where it's like, oh, there's another phase, and then you're just like, I won. This is kind of just sad at this point.
It turns into a Sif. Yeah.
Yeah, Sif from Dark Souls, where you get to a point in the battle where this big dog with a big sword in its mouth,
six cover your ears, please.
You get to a point in that battle where you've harmed the dog, and the dog's limping, trying to attack you and defend her owner, which is Artorias.
Yeah.
It felt kind of like that, where it's you've prevailed, but at what cost? But although these are automatons, so it's not the clankers, they don't have feelings.
Robots.
But yeah, a lot of great boss fights in Silksong, and that one I just think was, fun, different, and just beautifully done. Love it so much.
That was a clip from our upcoming episode about our favorite boss fights of all time. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And don't forget to subscribe because there's so much more.